We're reaching the end of the Olympic qualification period for Paris 2024, and just the matter of an enormous WTCS Cagliari lies ahead on Saturday the 25th of May, with the women going out at 11 a.m. and the men at 3:15 p.m. Central European Summertime. You can watch all the action from the Italian island of Sardinia on triathlonlive.tv. And before then, head to thedailytri.com and get involved in the WTCS Fantasy League Triathlon game. Pick your top fives, plus the fastest over each segment, and fame and glory and some nifty prizes await each game week. Prizes this time around include a voucher to spend at the World Triathlon store, so sign up and get picking. The podcast is back just in time for the end of the Paris 2024 Olympic qualification period, and we are delighted to welcome multiple series medalists, champion of Montreal last year, TikTok sensation Matt Hauser. Matt, how are you? Where are you?
Jeez, that's a stitch up. That's a huge stitch up. You didn't mention you're gonna talk about that, but I'm well, thanks, Doug. Appreciate you having me on.
Excellent. So yeah, parked the graphic design aspirations for full guns Paris now.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, that's the off-season job. So yeah, we switched roles now, and I'm back to what I'm actually good at. So, well, reasonable at.
For those scratching their heads, that was a TikTok video that is well worth searching out. And we also have Tommy with us. Tommy Zafiris, World Triathlon photographer, and so much more. How are you, Tom?
Yeah, doing well here in Girona for a little bit. Came to Spain in between the Yokohama and Cagliari trip. So yeah, getting a chance. There's like 15 athletes here, all prepping, recovering and prepping. So yeah, it's been good to kind of see everyone run around.
And yeah, suddenly Paris 2024, 2 months away. It all feels incredibly close, Matt.
Yeah, very close. Yeah. Just yesterday it feels like it was just the start of 2024, and now I'm already looking down the barrel of heading over to Europe and starting my kind of campaign over there. Obviously a few important races coming up, including Paris, and then also finish off in Spain at the World Champs again, which is great to see, considering the amount of people that turned out for Pontevedra last year was absolutely incredible. Yeah, but still one of the best races I've ever raced. So yeah, really looking forward to a lot this year.
Slightly downplaying Paris there a bit, Matt.
Yeah, well, there's always the elephant in the room. We can talk about that if you want. I guess that's what we're here to do. But yeah, no, it's not downplaying it. Just I'm aware of it, but focused as always.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I was wondering actually, what is your run into Paris looking like? You'll be spending quite a chunk of that the next couple of months in Europe, will you? In a builder upper.
Yeah. So just under 2 weeks' time now, I'll travel to Spain in Banyoles, where our squad's based at the moment. I'll race the Metz French Grand Prix for Team Leven, and then I'll have a lead-in race in Hamburg as well. So yeah, a couple of decent quality races coming up ahead of the Paris Olympics. So it should be good to shake the legs out a little bit more and to fine tune everything.
And the qualification sort of stresses that were so evident in Yokohama, you've kind of been able to stay out of for obvious reasons as the Aussie kind of banker. Yeah, it's been an interesting watching, isn't it? And Tommy, I know obviously in Yokohama, part of the build up there.
Yeah, it's been awesome watching the races within the race, because when it really comes down to the final season and the qualification period ending, and like people have injuries, people get sick, races get canceled, and there's so much points fluctuation, especially the last few races. So I kind of have been staying with Martin Van Riel here, and we've been going over the Olympic points list and like watching the like new flag competitions between the athletes that are ranked like 80th and 82nd or whatever, like trying to move their way up. But then there's also people like Martin and Charles, who they haven't raced for a long time, but they performed really well in Yokohama. So they jumped up a bunch of spots, and now they're even on the verge of, like, after Cagliari, probably going into the top 30 and bumping some people out. And so those countries are going to lose their 3 spots or 2 spots or whatever. So there's like so many different dynamics that it's way too complicated for me to even like follow, but it's very exciting these last couple weeks.
Yeah, Charles Paquet was a unit there in Yokohama, and it is amazing. Like, obviously, was in Samarkand and Hong Kong as well, where there are those World Cup points on the line for so many of those athletes, as they've been putting together back to back, the amount of travel and so on. It's absolutely relentless.
Yeah, watching Watoko, like the Netherlands and Norway, knowing that like the two women hadn't qualified themselves for the Olympics, so their chance of getting into the games was to win the relay. And then on the Netherlands side, even though they qualified the relay, one of their guys wasn't in the top 140, so he had to perform on the individual day, and they ended up doing everything that they needed to. So then, like, yeah, everything worked out in those senses, which, yeah, it's very exciting. But I mean, on the polar opposite side of that is like, it's very sad for some athletes as well, because you have athletes that have the opposite day and things don't go well. So hopefully the athletes that things don't go well, they can still stay positive. But yeah, it's fun to see all the athletes celebrating when things do go right.
Richard Murray just flying off the front there and staying there. It was quite a move. It looked like he was going to sort of just give Mitch Coltman a bit of a flying start, and then he just kept going.
Yeah, and he actually won that race with transitions. There was a US guy, and he lost 14 seconds in T2. And then even the Canadian kid, they both ran faster, like significantly faster than Richard, but you didn't even see them, in the background because they lost so much time in transition. So kind of cool to see that as well, that like the people who've been racing for a while that have dialed in the details and, all those little aspects, almost like the Hayden Wild of Hamburg, where just came in a little bit, that small little gap, booked it out of T2. And, that was the race, even though you didn't have the fastest run, still crossed the line first, which is all that matters.
And yeah, Matt, you're obviously still riding high after Yokohama. Great race for you, great race for Australia. 2 Aussie men back on the top of the podium. You must have been delighted when you saw Luke just pulling away as well for a little while there, out there on that run.
Yeah, I mean, the guy's been on an absolute mission this year. It's so good to see, because he's been in and out of categorization here at AusTri, and it's sometimes that adversity that you need to kind of kickstart the passion and the drive again. And I think, yeah, he's just shown that he really wants it this time around, obviously missing out on Tokyo selection. So yeah, he didn't just get a top 8, he didn't just scrape through, like he got his first WTCS podium, which I'm so stoked for him, and as I mentioned on my Instagram post, like, it's the first time 2 Aussie men have been on the podium since Courtney Atkinson and Brad Carlefeld, I think, back in the 2010s. So yeah, it was just awesome to see him up the road. I think that was also almost like a motivator for me to like push on, knowing that if we both get on the podium, it'd be quite remarkable for Team Oz. So yeah. So he's like, "Oh, did you really have to pass me though, Matt? Like, you could have just got third and I got second." But no, that's just the beauty of the sport, I guess. Like, it's not over till it's over. And yeah, no, just so stoked to turn around and see him hold on. I yelled at him as I was passing on the last lap. Come on, mate, let's get this, let's do this. And yeah, so stoked to see him, get over the line. And first time he's run under sub 30, runs to 29:36, first time on the Olympic team, first podium. So yeah, a lot of firsts.
And just another name to suddenly throw into the mix for that. Like, who knows what can happen at the pointy end of Paris, right? For you, that Yokohama race went pretty much textbook, I would imagine, Matt, didn't it? Like, exactly where you wanted to be out of the swim, stayed out of trouble on the bike. And then well, let's start with the bike. There was obviously that, the crash on the last lap there, but were there any squeaky moments in the run up to that had kind of put you on high alert a bit? You were sort of wedging yourself in the middle there for quite a lot of it as well, which is never seems the safest spot.
Yeah, I mean, it was almost like probably safer last year, because although it was like pelting down with rain, everyone was kind of a little bit more cautious, and it was kind of a little bit more strung out as well. So everyone wasn't like fighting and jostling for positions as much. But, you got 51, 52 guys like riding on high testosterone and ready to compete for Olympic spots for a lot of them. It's always going to be aggressive racing. And yeah, after the first lap, I actually didn't have any gears. My SRAM unsynced somehow, like a bit of a freak accident. I can't really put it down to much, but yeah, I was stuck in like the 3 or 4 from the bottom on the big chainring, and made it a little bit tough out of the corners. I'm glad the 180 wasn't there for this time around for this year. Otherwise, I think I would have struggled a little bit more. But that's why I kind of was sitting at the back of the pack trying to work that out. But then once I kind of got that under control and realized that I didn't really have too many other options, I kind of worked my way forward through the pack into that like kind of top 10 wheels. And yeah, I think it was like the 12th or 13th wheel that came unstuck in that crash. So, super lucky, super fortunate just to be in front of that. But, I certainly feel for, the likes of Dorian Connix who's, out. I believe he has to get surgery or something on a bone, which is unfortunate for him. But, these things, I'm sure he'll heal quick. And, you've got 2 months till bit over 2 months to the Olympics. So, I'm sure he'll be right as rain.
Yeah. Tommy, you weren't anywhere near that crash when you were out on the course snapping?
No, usually when I'm shooting, I have no idea what's happening in the race and I have to like rewatch the races afterwards. But I have my family thread. My family always watches the races. So I'm just getting a bunch of text messages on my watch. And then, I just see like all caps, crash, exclamation point. And then, so I was on the opposite side of the course. And then, of course, after I see that message, then I just see like a group of athletes come by and a couple stragglers and then another group. And it was just like, it went from 50 guys to just like chaos. And so I was like, all right, definitely there was a crash, not just like a small one. That must have been right in the middle of the peloton. So always unfortunate. Yeah, especially when it takes out some like medal contenders, Vasco and Dorian and even Tom Richard. Like those guys are guys that are going to be fighting for a top 5, at these races. And super unfortunate. So hopefully they bounce back real quick.
Yeah. And another example, like Gabor Faldoum having to ride at the end of that last lap with half his handlebar hanging off, and it was a vital race for his qualification prospects as well, huh?
Yeah, the Hungarians, it's a country that you don't really realize, but they have 4 guys in the top 30, but they're like on the verge of 30th place. So all of them need to continue to race pretty well. And I don't exactly know what their qualification is, but I think it's just like the top 3 based on ranking that are going to get spots. And so they're kind of like fighting each other. And that changes the dynamic of races from all the different countries, with athletes fighting amongst the other athletes, because they're not necessarily fighting for a win in the race. They're just fighting to beat the other athletes in the country and then watching each other. And that like changes how people race. And that can change like an entire dynamic in the peloton. So I think we see that with the French athletes as well, because right now qualification is probably more difficult than what the actual Olympics is going to be for them. So in the Olympics, you could see them working as a team, like off the front. But as of right now, nobody wants to do too much work in the front because they still need to run and outrun the other French guys. So it's more like, all right, what am I going to bank off of? Like having the whole peloton come together and me not do too much work and then put it all on the run? Or like, am I just going to go for it and hope that we hold off the chase group? But what's the point of that? Because all the other French athletes are here. And that can be for many different countries. I was just using them as an example, but yeah.
I think that'll be the biggest difference between like the Paris test event and the actual thing. Like, obviously I wasn't able to race the test event, but I thought it would have stayed a little bit more broken up on the bike. But I think it's just down to a few of those like nervous selection, criteria policies and stuff like that. And, people looking around at one another. But I dare say the Olympics will be a little bit more like gun ho and, throttle as well. So yeah, we could see that break up even further. We will see.
Yeah. I speaking of throttle and, the French or the Hungarians, if who knows whether, for example, Marc Devey and Vincent Luis will make the teams. If they do and don't, then that can have a huge impact. They're probably the 2 fastest swimmers out there, right? As someone who's also front pack swimmer, Matt, how does their potential presence or not shake things up a bit from the very start?
Yeah, I mean, as I mentioned, like that's the difference between World Series races and the Olympics. Like you've got a reduced field. You've only got 3 guys from each country that can potentially make a team. So it's going to impact the race like hugely. I mean, no doubt there'll be someone else that stands up and and swims to the moment of the Olympics. Hopefully that won't be me having to do all the work, but if it boils down to it, you just got to do it because it's the biggest race every 4 years. So it's going to impact the race for sure, but no doubt it'll still be on for the gun.
Did the crash so behind you? So it was just sort of noise, but presumably that gets everyone like the adrenaline fired up again, and you sort of suddenly heightened awareness of everything that's going on. Yeah, it was obviously only a half a lap to go, but must have got the heart racing again.
Yeah, for sure. It's just like the worst sound in triathlon, let alone cycling, to hear those like spokes twanging and bodies hitting the ground. So it's never nice. I think everyone just gets chills through their spines when they hear that kind of stuff. And it's definitely like, well, this is real. Like we're racing, our hearts out here, and there's so much on the line. So I guess it does get the adrenaline pumping a little bit more. And for those guys, definitely, like for those guys getting back on the bike, and we saw Vasco run like a really quick time after he came down, and also Hidalgo as well ran a really quick time. So those guys would have been running off just like pure adrenaline, trying to get back into the race and trying to do as much as they can to run quick times. So which is really impressive as well, like for them to get back on the bike and to keep going and to push the run, after that, a big setback like that. You got to have some mental toughness for sure. So credit to those guys.
Yeah. And Morgan Pearson obviously throwing down a crazy run, as we all knew he could, but it's when he pulls it out every once in a while and you're just like, oh yeah, right, there's another massive contender. I mean,
he flies so much on the radar, but I think that's just because of his inconsistency. Like we know that he is probably one of the top 3 runners in the game at the moment. It's just down to his consistency. And he joked to me after the race, he's like, well, I normally only have like 1 or 2 good races a year. So, that's one of them. So it'll be interesting to see how he bounces back in Cagliari, and see if he continues on with a couple of more heavy hitters added to the list in Alex and Hayden as well. So really, really excited to go and watch, and decided not to race it just to prepare at home and to get back to training and whatnot. But there'll certainly be some fireworks out on course, and I hope for Morgan that it's not just one race this year that goes well for him.
Your take on Morgan, Tommy, his kind of, well, I guess that run, he was 10 seconds back out of transition as well, having got caught up in the crash a little bit, right? And then just never let up, did he?
Yeah, my take is the answer is just finally, because you always see it. Like he always goes for it, and he either is going to do incredibly well or just blow up and finish 50th. Like he never gives up. He always finishes, but you're just like, oh, he always goes out this hard. He always like goes for it. He tries to like push the pace in the front, whether or not he's able to hold it. Hopefully one day he does. And that one day was it. So super excited for him, and especially super excited for him to go head to head with Alex and Hayden and Bloomy, basically the top like 15 guys in the world. It's going to be very exciting to go against. So stoked for him. Hopefully he can back it up, and hopefully he can have more than just 2 for the season. But even better story for him was that he didn't even have enough points to get on the start list for the Paris test event to qualify for the Olympic Games. So he rolled onto the start list like 12 hours before the actual race. And so USA Triathlon has a process that like, that was Hauser. That was you, huh? So Hauser got COVID.
It's good for me. He's got me to thank for
Hauser,
that.
you're helping out the US, so thanks for that. And Morgan owes you a croissant. So
gladly.
Like Morgan, he basically didn't even know he was going to race. USAT has a policy where you're not allowed to sub any athletes in an auto qualifying event. So he couldn't get subbed for an athlete who has more points or whatever. So he just kind of had to wait for Matt to get COVID, and that's what happened. So
yeah, I was going to say that's what it was, wasn't it? It was like a last minute freaking COVID situation that totally unraveled your test event.
Yeah, and Matt, actually, we did a photo shoot the day before, and I got a message from Matt, hey, just to let you know,
You might want to
test. I'm like, oh no.
it's funny because like I posted that on Instagram, like looking forward to racing and whatnot, and like 12 hours later, I'm like pulling out, and everyone's messaging, going like, "What the hell? Like you literally just said you were going to race. Like what's going on? Some freak accident or whatever?" But yeah, such is life, and thankfully you didn't get sick, Tommy. So we're all winners.
Strong immune system from having a child.
Was
True.
the that sort of test event was a bit of a bust for the Aussie men? Was there? So you DNS, the other three guys, Jacob, Brandon, and it wasn't Luke, was it? It was Luke.
Yep.
DNF. Was that like, was there some illness ripping through, or because to go from that at the test event to suddenly you two podiuming is a brilliant 360, really. 180.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, 360, we'd be back to square one. But yeah, I think yeah, I can't speak for Jake. He was quite a bit down after the swim bike. Brandon was in a really good position, looking like a vintage Brandon. Looking like he would challenge for a solid, top 10, top 15. But yeah, freak accident on the bike, and I think his chainstay like snapped or something like that, or something literally snapped on his bike and was hanging in two pieces. So that was unfortunate for him. And then Luke had to pull out because I think it was COVID as well, or some form of sickness. So yeah, it was a nice 180 to come back to Yokohama and have a couple of blokes do well from the Oz team, and hopefully we'll see that moving forward to Paris as well.
Yeah, and a lot of like you mentioned, Christian, obviously Tommy, it was a good, like, honest YouTube appraisal that he did, kind of picking through his race on the sofa in his hotel room. Obviously his top speed wasn't where he wanted it to be, but he's obviously turned around form in a short space of time before, right? Yeah, he knows exactly what he's got to do now, and in some senses that's as useful as having a really good race, right?
That's the hardest thing with World Triathlon Racing and the series and the way that the season's set up. And when there's like a one-off every 4 years event where you want to nail that, it's like, what do you want to be good for? Qualifying for the Olympics, the actual Olympics? Do you want to be good across the whole season? Like, do you want to be consistent, or do you want to have like some average races and then just one incredible race? And it's like, you have to decide what kind of athlete, what kind of person you are, that and what you want to accomplish based on those things, because Bloomy is the type of athlete that can target one race and show up on that day. So even if he finished like 30th, everybody would still be scared of him at the next race, and if he'd finished 30th again, nobody would write him off. You'd be like, he's just getting ready for the one day that he needs to be ready. So I think 10th place at a race that he doesn't need to qualify for the Olympics. He's basically qualified. He's from a smaller country. He's not like battling for spots, like pretty much guaranteed to go. So he's just preparing for the one event that he has to be his best at. So yeah, nobody's writing him off. He definitely has a great performance, being able to come in top 10 this far out. And yeah, if he has a couple more months of solid training and solid focus, like 100% another contender.
And he talked about his desperation going into Tokyo, his like absolute raw kind of yearning for that medal. Matt, do you see that as something you need to be feeling on that start line in Paris, is just like, this is it, this is my time?
Yeah, I mean, you've definitely got to want it more than anyone else, because you've got to be able to push your body to lengths where no one else can match you, and likely it could come down to a sprint finish, or the last kilometer or two of the run. And yeah, there's definitely that desperation that what Blumenfeld showed in that Tokyo race where he attacked and attacked again, and you could just see like wanted it more. And no doubt Hayden and Alex are in a different position coming into this one, more favorites than the last. So they're definitely realizing that they're probably in the peak shape of their careers at the moment, and they really have to take the opportunity with both hands. So the pressure is on, but it's a good kind of pressure, and it'll be exciting to see what happens when it all boils down to it. But yeah, I'm certainly coming in knowing I definitely want it just as much as the next guy, if not more. So yeah, Tokyo was a bit of a downer for me, and bit of a yeah, anticlimactic experience. So yeah, for me to get a really good run at it this time around and be in good form and shape and a good age for it as well, I reckon, yeah, I'll have a good crack at it too.
And back to Tommy's point and the fact that you won't be there, is there a sense that the winner in Cagliari is peaked too soon, or?
Not necessarily. I think like we saw Blumenfeld win a lot of races or like do really well in races, leading into that Tokyo race. So, back in 2021. So, I think it's just a good showing of form, good for the confidence, good for the belief. So yeah, it's just whether you can control the emotions of being, a strong favorite after a strong win in Cagliari. That's what it boils down to. And yeah, if you can take it like just a hard training session against a few of the best guys in the world, then that's great, and you move forward and you refocus onto Paris. It's just how you can control those emotions, I guess, coming from the day and knowing that it's a just a roundabout field of what's going to be in Paris.
Mm. And what time does that Cagliari work out for you in Australia?
Yeah, it'll be about 10:30 or 11 o'clock at night. So yeah, it'll be a really good race to watch. I might have to put the alarm clock back a few hours, just to watch the boys and girls go around.
And I suppose it's similar to like the Leone Perio situation, and we've seen it countless times with the men as well, as far as that one result, and suddenly everyone's talking about you as a favorite, right? And that is the thing of triathlon, is how a couple of like a win and a good race, and it's like you almost like the commentary seems to almost forget about everything that's gone before, and then thrusts the next person into the limelight. It's such a unusual sport in that sense.
Yeah, in this sport, there's such a short-term memory. Like, we're not even. I mean, we are talking about Blumenfeld because he's the reigning Olympic champion, but like I feel leading into this year, it's all been about the Alex and Hayden show and the French and stuff like that. But we got a guy that's just made it his business the 10 years before Tokyo to go out and dominate a race and win gold. And he literally like basically manifested that from the age of 12, 14. So his early teenage years. So yeah, we got a guy that's done it before and we're barely even talking about him. So I think that just goes to show the short-term memory of the sport. Leone had such a great race. And then obviously Emma Lombardi as well, but they're potentially not even the strongest female in the French team race. So it's it's crazy. It's crazy to see.
That's another dynamic that we didn't really talk about, was that in Yokohama, we were missing like 4 athletes who were in the top 8 or top 10 in the world. And, it only takes one athlete that can change a race. And so we're talking about 4 athletes that can change the entire dynamic of the race. And so same thing with Cagliari, like there's going to be Vasco's missing, Dorian's missing, a couple other people are missing, like Matt Hauser or something like that. He's not coming. So, like all these contenders that have a huge impact on the race aren't going to be there. And so it's hard to take information away from that and kind of see where people are at, because it just one extra person in the race or one person not in the race could change the entire how it plays out. So I think always when you're making your fantasy teams and you're like guessing and like oh, this is how we think it could potentially like work out, nobody knows. It's impossible to to figure that out. So it's kind of just fun to pick with your heart and go based off of interviews and TikTok reels and
Are you gonna? Yeah, Matt, come on, you're not racing. You can die. So Daily Tri, we're partnering with for the fantasy triathlon. This you can do this like unencumbered, right, Matt? You can make your picks.
Unbiased. At least 2 Aussie men on the podium, at least, if not 3. That's all I'm saying.
Strong.
So, Matt, do you know if you have bad luck with your fantasy team like I do, where I pick the athletes and then they have bad races?
Well, yeah, it's only when you put the pressure on me when you come up to me and whisper in my ear before a race saying like you've got me in my top you've got me in your top three or something like that. Like it's like,
Yeah,
oh,
but that
thanks.
that's not
Get it at
that's
this
not
point.
that's not the race fantasy though. That's just my fantasy.
Mine too, mate. Mine too.
Oh boy. As someone who's roomed with Tommy a few times, thought of you whispering that in your ear is going to be quite off-putting. I think we need to knock that on the head, Tommy.
So Matt's still higher on my list as a roommate though because he's never used my toothbrush.
Gentlemen.
We'll move on from that. Um, the French Grand Prix is an interesting one, isn't it? Like, is the thinking there? It's obviously high quality field, good quality race, just under the radar a bit. So you said you're racing for Livan in the run up. Hayden and Alex obviously both did that. Was that the weekend before Yokohama, right?
Yeah,
Um,
Jesus.
was that, and I guess that was for the same reason that you're doing it, but pure coincidence that they both sort of chose that path for their, well, and the time zone change of going to Yokohama when they didn't have to, I guess.
I think so. Well, I think a lot of what Hayden does is quite tactical. So I wouldn't be surprised if he got word that Alex was racing and he decided to join on the start list. But that's just the type of tactician he is. But uh, yeah, for me, I think the French Grand Prix racing is just super fun and exciting. Like I just get such a kick out of it. It's such a light-hearted way to race, you know, balls out, against some great competition. There's so many under 23 and junior French guys coming through that can influence the swim and the bike and have a good crack at it as well. So yeah, for me, I have a lot of fun with Team Leven and Lolo, the manager. He's leaving the president role after this year as well. So any race I can do for him is a pleasure. And I get to do it with Brandon as well, my teammate, and good mates as well. So yeah, it's just basically just like a really good hit out, a solid training session. I'm 2 from 2 at Metz as well, so it helps to have a good history in the French Grand Prix racing as well, which is fun.
The quality of the French team speaks to that, the quality of that domestic circuit as well. But it's everything as well, is it? Like just the atmosphere around the races and everything, it all kind of comes together, does it? It's a good one.
Yeah, definitely. And it's different different like team kind of dynamics as well. You're just basically racing for different regions around France, and a lot of the guys are contracted outside of France as well from other countries. So sometimes you rock up and you'll basically have a WTCS start line, but you'll have 110 blokes on the start line with 30 or 40 under 23s thrown in there as well. So it's just really competitive racing, and the French have such a rich culture in endurance sports and triathlon as well, which is really inspiring to see. Like I wish Australia can one day get back to that kind of level of just culture of loving triathlon. And it's good to see events like Townsville this year and also Wollongong coming back to the shores of Australia, like World Cup and World Championship racing as well. So essentially, like the more racing in your country, the better it is. So I think it'll only do Australia well to get more races there, like the French have basically every month.
It's like a 5, 6, 7 race circuit across the season, and sort of at least 2, 3, 4 of those, like a bunch of WTCS medalists, gold medalists, will kind of blow in and sort of makes it up a bit.
Pretty much, yeah. I mean, it's so densely packed, the race schedules these days, like with Super Tri and World Triathlon, and also the likes of the T100 series and people doing bits and pieces with that. So whenever you can get to a French Grand Prix start line, it's a good day. And there'll be some weekends where it's less strong because it kind of clashes with a World Series race, but then there'll be races where you'll have 10 out of the top 10 guys racing. So it's a lot of fun.
Did you ever do any, Tom?
Yeah, 10, 12 years ago, back in the days of Mario, Javi, the Brownlees. Vince was racing at that time, of course, younger Vince. Yeah, Richard Murray, Laurent Vidal, David House, like all these top dogs, they were all in it. And yeah, that was my first time I'd ever traveled, like basically outside the United States. Joined a French team, moved to France, and joined Saint Raphael. And yeah, threw myself into that ring. And as Matt said, it was just like insanely good for development, especially as a younger athlete, because racing at those is basically racing between World Cup and Championship Series level races. And, you get your butt kicked and know what you need to work on, and you need to be good across the board at everything, all the little details and stuff. So what the French have going, and even the German Bundesliga and stuff, like that development pathway is huge. And yeah, coming to Europe it's the peak of development for draft legal triathlon.
And on the Aussie side, I guess the mixed relay team is somewhat up in the air. Like the Aussies historically, obviously very strong in that department. And if it's a little unclear which might be the final women making it, at least this time around, Australia certainly aren't alone in that, right? There's a lot of uncertainty around kind of all the top teams. I guess France perhaps sitting pretty, you would say, out of all of them as far as who they can kind of choose from. But yeah, whether it's like America, GB, Oz, there's quite a lot still up in the air.
Yeah, and I think also the order switching up as well, this cycle really does make a difference. I think with the men going first, there's the field is like a lot more condensed going into the second leg. With the women's, we saw it like break up and split up quite a bit more because there's such strong, swimmers and cyclists that are, quite a bit better than say the lower ranked athletes. So yeah, we see probably a little bit more tighter fields and a little bit more strategic decision making around that as well. But yeah, I don't know. That's the beauty of having like another medal, opportunity in the Olympics. There's more opportunity for athletes to make the Olympics. There's more kind of range and scope that you have to be good at in order to put your best foot forward for selection as well. So, and there's great stories that come out of it, just like we were talking about in Hertelco, like the last qualifying race and what the Netherlands needed to do, and they certainly ticked that box, and Norway as well. So yeah, like anything, there's going to be cycles, there's going to be ups and downs in performances, and we were once a really strong country, winning world championships, back only 5-6 years ago, but we certainly have to work quite a bit harder now that the French and Great Britain and Germany have certainly arrived on that stage now. And yeah, I mean there's countless teams that can vie for a top 3, top 5 position now. So it's all about, essentially it is a team, but it is essentially like 4 individual legs like comprised together. So it could just take one little slip up from one athlete to kind of derail the whole thing. So you really have to chip in every little percent from each and every one of your teammates. So yeah, just the beauty of it, really.
And from the British side, at least, Cagliari could be a hugely decisive race on that front. Tommy, I'm sure you've got some theories, some thoughts, on what is obviously, so podium for a British athlete will get them on the Olympic squad.
Yeah, actually, I don't know. But word on the street is you just need to race like pretty much as good as possible. That selection is very intense, especially on the women's side, there's 3 athletes going for the 2 remaining spots, and like all 3 of them are medal contenders. So that's just blows my mind. And then on the men's side, I believe GB only has 2 men's spots for the Olympics. So the second men's spot with Alex is going to have to be somebody that is good on the relay. And whether or not they go with somebody that they believe is going to help them win a medal, or somebody that they want to develop, or somebody who could do both the relay and be a domestique for Alex, or somebody who potentially could be good in the individual and somewhat good in the relay. Because for the men now, as Matt was saying, they changed the order. So you just need men to kind of like keep you in the game. You don't need the men to like win the race for you. So if you just have like a pretty solid guy, like that works totally fine in the relay. So I don't know what they're going to do with that decision. That's going to be pretty crazy. And I don't envy anybody being on any of the committees because, yeah, going back through, a couple of years of data and like medal potential for individual, for relay, for skills and this, skills and that, what you're willing to do for your country and work for other athletes, man, it's going to be quite the story when we find out what happens.
And I guess, Johnny Brownlee putting together the fastest relay split in Tokyo and winning gold. And then Hugo Milner. Yeah, it was interesting. There was a little clip of those two having a post-race debrief in Yokohama. And Hugo's one of the fastest runners out there at the moment as well, right? These are all people that in your preparation for a Paris Olympics, Matt, when the final start lists are out there, you've got to be like in your analysis of everybody that is on that start line that is a threat. Someone like Hugo Milner could be right near the top of that list, right?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we've seen the run kind of like dominate this form of triathlon for so long now, and it's getting to a stage where you've got to run low 29, even sub 29. So there's potentially only a few guys in the race that can confidently do that week in, week out. So no doubt those guys are going to be revered a little bit on race day, but also respected in a way that you got to bring your best to beat them. So I think that's obviously why the triathlon is what it is. You got to be a good swim, bike, runner. At the end of the day, you can't really have a weakness. So if you can try and exploit the weaknesses, to a certain level in races, that's always what you'll try and look to do. So not everyone's perfect. Not everyone's going to have a perfect race. So there's always going to be opportune moments and times where, the adapters will prevail. So no doubt Hugo, if he makes a team, will be a threat along with a lot of other really good runners in the field. It's all about who steps up in the moment and who takes it with both hands.
Yeah, I was actually talking with Yella on a run today, Yella Gaines, and talking about how like the level of running is pretty much it's been fast like over the years, and like Brownlee at his best, Gomez at his best, like the runs have been staying somewhat fast. But what's getting crazier is how fast the swim is, how hard the bike is, and then still running those times. And how a lot of athletes, when they're new to the sport, like they'll kind of do their test, their FTP test, and like have a certain wattage that their coaches know that they can do. And then they'll race at that FTP and they'll be like, why can't I run off this? Like I do this FTP test. It's like, dude, you need your watts to be like 50 watts higher. Your FTP needs to be like 50 watts higher than what you're doing in the race to actually be able to run properly, like off that. So there's a lot of new athletes that come in that even if they're insanely talented, it takes years to build that up. It takes years of base training, So new athletes like Hugo, what he's going to struggle with is the level of the bike, because that'll come. Like he's very young for sure. He was in the mix in Yokohama and then ended up getting dropped on the bike a little bit. And then still ran fast, but he had lost, a few minutes. So wasn't able to get quite a, payoff from that run, but that's just time on the bike. And you can't rush that, unfortunately. You can train super well, you can be super talented, but to get that actual like base level of bike fitness and tactical awareness and like minimizing your spikes around any of the corners, which there are a lot of, and like knowing whose wheels to be on and stuff, that just takes years of experience. And like Hauser, you've been racing for 10 years now, so it's becoming natural for you. But when you're first getting started, if you remember how much brain energy it took to kind of make those decisions in the moment, like that encompasses like half of your energy is just figuring that stuff out and like watching it happen. So Hugo's one of those guys to look out for, and in the future. But I think the development wise, it's just going to be time on the bike, time doing the sport to get to that level.
Do you remember those days, Matt? 10 years back, like really? Slotting into a pack like that and just like a little bit of a sense of just hanging on for dear life.
Yeah, just a lot of naivety. And yeah, it's funny, like I look back and I used to be considered like one of the young guys, and now I'm training with like 19, 20-year olds. So I'm starting to feel like the older guy now, and which is a bit funny, but yeah, I mean, along with that, along with youth and stuff comes, sometimes like courage and bravery and just being naive, and sometimes there's a beauty to that, really, because you don't really know the consequences. You just go out and race, with all your heart. So but yeah, certainly those things, those little things that add up in the scope of of a World Series triathlon, swim, bike, run. The only way to get better is to just keep racing, like just keep exposing yourself to that top level. That's why I encourage, all the juniors out there to like just get in as a competitive race as possible, and just go out there and expose yourself to that high level, and even just like picture yourself racing those guys, and like in training. Like that's what I used to do growing up. Like I used to picture myself, swimming in the lane next to, Brownlee or Gomez, or, just trying to like imagine myself, in that kind of pack, and feel the presence of the top athletes. So yeah, it's just all about exposure. And, as you said, Hugo will definitely get there. Like he's got time. He's obviously got the support of his country, and he's got a wicked run leg as well. So yeah, I mean, I think we saw the same with Alex Yee, right? Like he came in a super talented runner, not quite there on the swim bike, but now he's like, he's so underrated on the bike. Like he's one of the most powerful guys, and does the majority of the work in the chase pack on the bike, and has gotten his swim to a level where, in a Paris test event, he was only, what, 10, 15 seconds down, and still ran 20 seconds quicker than everyone else. So yeah, I mean, it's an exciting it's an exciting thing to see, as like a triathlon purist, to see people develop through the years, and see them from the start. And no doubt we'll see that with Hugo, and the likes of those type of athletes.
The full 40K of that bike in Paris is going to be absolutely fascinating, isn't it? Every freaking turn, every burst, there's always going to be a couple rolling the dice like they were in Tokyo, having a little go off the front. And
Schomburgler, he's getting too used to these breakaways now, so full focus on Tokyo for sure. He's going to be, mad pushing the bike, him and Devay.
And is there a little bit of that like disappointment from Tokyo that you're able to feed off as well, Matt, heading into Paris, not having been exactly necessarily where you wanted to be when you hit that start line? And
For sure. And I think like the preparation has a lot to do with it. Like, the first time around, in some things you're going to make a few mistakes, and I think me and my team made a few mistakes, and it was also, I think, partly down to the fact that I wasn't exposed to that level of racing, 12, 18 months, before the Olympics. So, that's why I've come into 2024 just wanting to race, things like the French Grand Prix and things like Hamburg 2 weeks before, which could be seen as a bit of a risky move, but for me, like racing is the best form of training. So just to expose myself to that high level, as I mentioned, is going to be super important to my preparation. Yeah, Tokyo's a bit of a fuel to the fire for me, for sure. Like I'm as fit as I ever have been this time around, and I know that's going to really push me in those latter stages of the race in Paris. I just didn't want to miss out on what potentially could be, a career to set myself in my future family up. Like I didn't want to miss the boat, and see guys like Alex and Hayden, who I grew up racing, really kind of take off and do their thing, and not be a part of that as well. So yeah, that was a big motivator for me coming out of Tokyo, and wanting to bounce back even stronger and better in 2022 and beyond.
And just briefly, what just over 2 months away from Paris, can you give us a little breakdown then of heading to Europe when?
Yeah, so 2 weeks Sunday. June the 2nd, I'll head to Europe, and then, as I mentioned, I'll race the French Grand Prix in Metz, and then I'll do Hamburg as well. And all the while preparing in Bagnoles with my squad, and my coach Dan Atkins. So yeah, it'll be great fun. My parents, my childhood coach is coming over with his wife. My girlfriend's coming over, Georgia. So yeah, I'm going to have so many loved ones and family and support over there with me. And I can't wait to try and get it done for them on the day.
Nice. Tommy?
I'm not picking you for my fantasy team.
Thank you.
Screw
Reverse
you.
psychology.
And not whispering that into your ear at the
Yeah.
pontoon drop.
I'm going to whisper, I
Not
don't pick you.
either, mate. That's extra motivation, mate. That's all I need.
Tommy, I'm sure you must have. Were there any other things you wanted to cover before we let Matt go to his mise en douche or whatever it was?
Oh, man.
Douche is showers, mate.
Yeah, I'm unprepared. No, I didn't even prepare any questions for Matt other than just saying what's up and hope that he has a good training block in Australia. And yeah, sorry to keep it serious, but really pulling for you and hope you have good training. All the best of mechanical luck for your body. And sad to be missing you here in Spain, not crossing paths. So, but I'll see you in Hamburg.
Absolutely. Sounds great. Thanks, mate. Always a pleasure.
Brilliant. Yeah, well, great couple of months to you, Matt. Look forward to seeing you out there again in Hamburg. Thanks for your time. It's been great.
Thank you very much. Good luck to everyone racing this weekend. Should be a good watch.
Cheers.